tax in America for any of these producing states. Secondly, we've had significant investment in our state. And thirdly, you know, what we want to do if we're going to have a modernized severance tax is give small business the break. I mean, the most important thing is job creation in our state, and helping small businesses only goes to help people get work. So, you know, the reluctance to do this is, well, I'm not surprised by it. I told you it may take a long time, but we're going to keep at it and at it and at it till we get it done. And when you talk privately to the companies, what they say is they'd like to grab it right now. But somehow between what they say and what ultimately happens up here, somehow there's a disconnect. That disconnect at some point will be connected. And, you know, I think what some of these companies need to be concerned about is somebody doing a ballot initiative and raising it to 8 or 9%, which would really hurt the industry. So we need to make sure that we get something put into place that allows the industry to be competitive, but allows all Ohioans to benefit from the fact that there are people that are depleting our resources, and we can have a twofer. It's a bluebird that flew in the window. Instead of taking the profits back to Texas or Oklahoma or wherever you're from, people here can also benefit from these modernized severance taxes. Joe?
I want to ask this without the business owners chucking shoes at me, but is there a way for the public to see who is getting the tax rebate, if you will, and a way to determine that they did indeed overpay?
No. It's confidential information. The businesses who are represented here today had to provide us with a waiver to be able to even do what we did here today. So, no, those are not publicly available.
Well, I mean, and Joe, I mean,
other than the aggregate, that can't be individuals.
The idea is not that we are taking money out of the Treasury and just willy-nilly giving it to people. What we're doing here is you know, the really important work of saying you shouldn't overpay, and then we kind of keep your money and not tell you about it. I mean, that's just a ripoff. There's no other way to describe it but a governmental ripoff. So, I mean, the reason why you don't see other companies here right now is they're nervous about this whole issue of their taxes, and if they come up here, there are people figuring out how much they're paying in taxes and all that. So that's the concern. And now, look, I think the other thing that happened this last week that's really fantastic was the passage of the financial institutions tax, which means that our bigger institutions, our bigger banks are paying more of their share, and our smaller banks, our community banks, are paying less. This is an unbelievable relief to the small banks and community banks that are so important in our communities, and which are the ones that loan money to people, you know, who are out there in the communities. So we're just looking constantly to help small business, but in this case, you overpay, we're going to give you your money back, but we expect you to pay. Don't avoid paying your taxes.
Commissioner Testa, could you talk a little bit more about how this compares with when an individual taxpayer, a personal income taxpayer, overpays, and just what happens?
Yeah, let me give you an example. On the personal income tax side, as I'm sure all of you are aware, personal income tax return, it's very obvious. There's a refund line right there. Okay, you fill out your return, there it is. You have more withholding held from your paychecks, you take your exemptions, there's the total, it's right there. And that's what I meant by it, is that systems, the paper systems, obviously electronic systems, are designed to make that very visible. And internally, the system is designed to get those checks, to get those amounts, direct deposits even faster. I recommend electronic filing, to get it to you as quickly as possible. Here's the CAT tax return. There's nothing on here about refunds. You know, again, it's just the initiative hasn't been taken in the past to take the kinds of steps that have been taken in the personal income tax side. That's what I meant by that. We're changing that. Businesses deserve to get their refunds, overpayments back to them just like individuals do. That's what we're changing.
So at what point in the process do you realize that a company has overpaid? I mean, is that something that happens in the initial few months after the stuff gets filed?
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to the timing. With the different taxes, there are different filing periods. Some are annual, some are semi, some are quarterly, some are monthly. So there are different timings, different processes. What I want to get to is I want to get to as much of an automated system as we possibly can, so that if there is an overpayment in a prior period, it's immediately available and obvious to our staff, but to the companies as well, so that at that time they can see, wait a minute. Another thing, again, that sort of relate to that is on the business gateway, particularly in CAT tax. When they file electronically, they bring up their account, what we want is I want to be able to take that overpayment and have it automatically populate on the return, so on the filing. So when they bring it up, they'll see that they had an overpayment from the prior period, and they won't have to pay it again. I mean, it's things like that.
So as nice as it is for these folks to be getting refunds, do you expect to hear back from any number of furious small business owners who have overpaid over the years, over the decades?
Got the 4-year statute of limitations, so.
I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody will make a comment like that, but again,
they're going to be.
We fix things and move forward. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, some people have been ripped off.
That's true.
I mean, isn't it unbelievable that this is the case? And Joe sort of, by working their staff working, they discovered this, and then they immediately went into action to fix it. Yeah, if I was a small business person and I'm trying to hang on to my employees or hang on to my business, and I find out that state pocketed money that they had no business having, I'd be really upset about it. So, but I think that people's reaction is going to be, thank goodness you're fixing it, rather than, you bunch of bums kept our money. We're trying to give them their money back, and so we're going back to the 4 years so they can get their proper refunds.
When does the 4 years run out for the oldest group of tax filers here? How much time between this press conference and when their money will disappear?
It changes every day. I mean, it continues to move forward. So it's just a 4-year window that moves forward every day. The ones we're dealing with here today are the ones that are most current, most recent, would be 4 years old. But that will continue. So next week, next month, there would be more who would start to drop off. That's why we started with the oldest of that 4-year period, to make sure they didn't lose their opportunity to get their refund while we're trying to sort this out.
Right. So I mean, how many people are, if you had this press conference today and somebody's refund expires today, that would.
We're on top of that. We're on top of that. We definitely don't want that to happen. So we're in the process of contacting those. Some of them are represented today.